Looking back now, all the signs were there, but I was blinded by love. 7 years with Raj, and I thought we had it all. The perfect relationship, the perfect home, the perfect life in the heart of Houston's oil and gas world. We were the power couple everyone envied. But behind closed doors, I was suffocating. I remember the early days, how he'd sweep me off my feet, making me feel like I was the only woman in the world. He'd tell me how much he loved me, how I was his everything. And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. But over time, things started to change. He'd disappear emotionally whenever I needed him, leaving me feeling isolated and uncertain. At first, it was small things. He'd say he needed space, that he was stressed with work. I would give him that, thinking he'd come back to me when things calmed down. But the space turned into hours, then days, and I would be left wondering what I did wrong. I would try to talk to him about it, but he'd just brush it off, telling me I was being too sensitive. Then, there were the accusations. He'd accuse me of cheating out of nowhere, no explanation. I would be devastated, trying to convince him I would never do that to him. But he'd just shrug it off, saying he was just paranoid. I started to doubt myself, wondering if I was indeed doing something wrong. But I loved him, so I ignored the red flags. I thought I could fix him, fix us. And then, I found a charge on our credit card statement for a hotel in our own city. That was weird. He'd told me he was working late that night. I pushed the thought aside, thinking maybe he had worked late and needed a place to crash. But the seed was planted. A few days later, I was going through our travel plans for an upcoming trip, and I found plane tickets for a trip he said was canceled. My heart sank. Why would he book tickets if the trip was canceled? I felt a knot in my stomach, a sense of unease I could not shake. That's when I started digging deeper. I went through his emails, his messages, and that's when I saw it. A message from his ex-wife, Rachel. They'd been divorced for years, but I knew he'd stay in touch for the kids. But the messages, they weren't about the kids. They were flirtatious, intimate. My world came crashing down. I felt like I would been punched in the gut. I could not breathe. I could not think. All I could do was wonder. How could he do this to me? To us? We were building a life together, a family. Or so I thought. I remembered my aunt's words. Some men are wolves in sheep's clothing. She'd been through something similar, and I would always thought, that could never happen to me. But now, I was not so sure. I needed to talk to someone to process this. I called my pastor, and we met up for coffee. She listened, her eyes filled with compassion and understanding. You did not deserve this, she said. You did not do anything to make him cheat. But I could not shake the feeling that I was somehow to blame. That if I had been more supportive, more understanding, he wouldn't have sought comfort elsewhere. My pastor kept telling me, it's not your fault. But it was hard to believe. As I navigated this emotional minefield, I realized I had two choices. I could let this destroy me, or I could use it to find my strength. It was not easy. There were moments of denial, anger, bargaining, and acceptance. I oscillated between hating him and still loving him. I hated what he'd done, but I still loved him. The more I dug, the more I discovered. He'd been secretly meeting Rachel for 2 years, ever since he got sober and started going to meetings. That's when he met her again, and they rekindled their affair. The thought made me sick. And the worst part? He was planning to leave me for her on our wedding day. Our wedding day. The day I thought was going to be the happiest day of my life. I knew I had to confront him. I could not let him get away with this. But I was not going to go in blind. I needed to be prepared. I needed to let him catch himself in his own lies. I took a deep breath, and I called him. Hey, we need to talk, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. What's up? He asked, sounding casual. We need to talk, I repeated. He came home, and we sat down in the living room. I looked him straight in the eye. I know what's been going on, I said. I know about Rachel. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. What are you talking about? He asked, trying to play dumb. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice rising. I have proof. I know you've been meeting her for 2 years. He sighed, and for a moment I thought I saw a glimmer of remorse. But then his expression hardened. You're just being paranoid, he said. You're always accusing me of something. I felt a surge of anger. I am not paranoid, I said. I have evidence, and I know you are planning to leave me for her. He looked away. and I knew I had him. I knew he was guilty. How could you do this to me? I asked, my voice shaking. How could you throw away our life like that? He shrugged. I do not know, he said. I just felt alive with her, I guess. I felt a pang of sadness. He'd never made me feel alive like that. He'd always made me feel like I was suffocating. I am not going to let you do this to me, I said, finding a strength I did not know I had. I am not going to let you break me. He looked at me, surprised. You're not going to fight me on this? I smiled, a fierce determination burning inside me. Oh, I am going to fight, I said. I am going to fight for myself, for my life, and I am going to win. It was not easy, but I did it. I walked away from him, from the relationship, from the life we were building. It was a hard, painful process, but I emerged stronger, wiser. I realized that I deserved better, that I deserved to be loved and respected. As I look back now, I realize that I was blinded by love, but I am not blind anymore. I see him for who he is, and I see myself for who I am. Strong, capable, and worthy of love.